You see. Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian. I thought this was going. What is going on? Did I lose my screen? I'm sorry about that. I guess I am hopefully live now. That's really weird. Okay, so let me know. It's been saying I've been going on for 2 minutes, so I'm not really sure. Now I'm just really confused what's been going on. So maybe I lost my stream and then I'm back on. But let me know, guys, in the chat if this is going through, and then if I just started on. But this is week number 67. In case I thought I already kind of started everything, but how long you been teaching? I have been teaching for 14 years now. Okay, I guess can see you. Okay, great. Well, I have no idea what's going on. So here is week number 67, working on math burnt out. My name is Mr. McLogan, and I'm here to talk to you guys about a little bit of math burnout, as well as go through some questions that you guys submitted, which I pinned in the comments below. I take your questions each and every Sunday night. Please make sure, though, you guys understand that be very detailed with your questions. I probably had to eliminate half of the questions that were submitted to me this week because people just posted like worksheets and like do these. And I'm like, I'm not doing a whole worksheet of problems. I like to kind of get very quick and to the point with your questions. So if you're very vague with your questions or just ask me to do like 5 different questions or word problems or crazy stuff, I'm typically not going to get to it. So I do apologize, but I do see you, Alyssa, I see you Outcast and Twitter and Wet Dryer and Charles and Addie and Scoot. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And I am doing a little bit different stream here tonight because my main camera is, for some reason, is not working. So I'm going to try checking it maybe one more time, see if no, I don't know. It's like not getting the feed for some reason. So not really sure why that is the case, but that is okay. So the reason why I want to talk about a little bit of math burnout is because for the majority of you, or maybe not the majority, but maybe a lot of you, you're entering now into this math season, right? We're coming into the final block here of our school year. And, it's been a pretty crazy year. And I think it's very important to kind of talk to you guys about how to finish it off strong. And math burnout is something I have dealt with as a student. It's something I've dealt with as a teacher, and it's something I'm dealing with right now. Because if you guys have been on my Instagram, you notice that we welcomed in our 3rd child into the world over this week. So I took some days off at school. I didn't really take any days off or time off because it's just been busy, obviously, with a new young one and everything like that. But I also had a lot of work from school, and a lot of grading, a lot of math stuff I had to do. And while we were in the hospital, that gave me some time to definitely go ahead and do that. But I also just got burned out of them. Like, I'm just sick of doing so much math work, like so much grading and everything else. And like, it's not even done. Like, that's all we're doing right now is just, preparing for these exams at the end. And yeah, it's a very trying time at this point. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about letting you know that it's okay when you feel burnt out in math, but also give you guys some tips on what I feel like you guys can do. And then I'll get into some of the questions that you guys have. So definitely want to well, thank you very much for thoughtful. Yes, I have 3 girls now. So, definitely very exciting to be growing the family. But, so the thing about the math burnout is I think one thing that I want everybody to keep in perspective, if you feel like this kind of overwhelm, you're just sick of math class, you're sick of doing the work, is just to kind of remember, like, put things in perspective, put things like where you've come from the beginning of this year, and just realize all the math, all the work that you have done throughout this year, and especially through the circumstances. If you're doing hybrid or online learning or, everything you've done, like, it's really an accomplishment because, it's something that we have not not really had to endure before. Like, last year didn't really count as far as like finishing off the year with that. But throughout this whole year, we've had to come over a lot, and it's been very taxing on your teachers, your parents, and obviously your own self trying to do all this work. So I want you to kind of put things a little bit in perspective and just realize you've done a lot of good work, and it's okay to feel this kind of burned out that you feel. And maybe you've never felt this before inside of, when you've been inside the classroom. Maybe you've been strong at math, or maybe you've previously struggled in math, but the idea of being inside the classroom was helping you out, or at least, didn't give you that burned out feeling. This year has been completely different. And so it's definitely okay to to have the kind of feelings, because I think we've all had to put in different work, and maybe if it hasn't been like more work, it's been a different type of work that we haven't really expected. And so I think that we got to like recognize that and understand that and say like, all right, so how are we going to move forward with that, right? And if we don't acknowledge that and acknowledge the work, the hard work that we've already put in, I think it's kind of hard to kind of move on from that. So I think the one thing is just recognizing that you've already put in some work. You've done a good job. But now we got to say like, how are we going to finish strong? So here's some things that I think that will be helpful for you. And some things that I'm doing, because like I said, even as a teacher, I'm burned out. I am burned out from this year. I'm burned out doing math. I don't want to create any more lessons. I don't want to grade any more tests. Like, I'm done. I'm just like, I'm so over everything. So here are some things that I'm doing. I am making sure that I'm specializing, like making sure that I'm giving myself time to not do schoolwork. Like basically throughout this whole year, I've been doing schoolwork every single night. I've always had stuff to do. With it's my own online class, if it's been doing math, YouTube videos. And I just decided like, I need a little bit more space right now. Everything that I do in math class, has taken me a little bit longer. And so what I realized is like, you know what? I just need to realize like I can only do so much. So I'm going to focus on the things that are really bringing me the most amount of value inside my classrooms, on my YouTube channel and everything else. And if anything else that doesn't bring me value, like maybe that I typically did at the beginning of the year when my motivation was like higher, I'm just not doing it. And I'm okay with not doing it. There's a couple things that I wanted to do for my YouTube channel, some more videos I wanted to make. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't have the capacity to do it. And like, that's okay. I'm content with that, because again, as I mentioned from that first step, like I put in a lot of hard work throughout this year, and I'm okay if I'm not going to be doing everything. And right now I just realize also I don't have the capacity to put that effort and time into doing my math work. So I think number one is like, recognize that you can't continue, give yourself time and space. And also like to do something else that's non-math related, like really kind of realize that you need more things to be, spaced out, throughout the time. So like give yourself a little bit more time to really focus on non-math things. I think is really important. And then when you are going to be doing your math, like it's so easy at this time when you're burned out in math to say like, hey, I'm going to do this and then not to do it. And trust me, I have tests, like I'm a big proponent. I like to give my students their tests as soon as possible. But I've told you, I'm being frank with you. I gave my kids a test 2 weeks ago, not last week, not this week, but the week before, a week ago. And I was like, oh, I'll grade it when I have my kid and I go to the hospital. Don't worry. And of course, no, I didn't do it. Like I was just too busy and I just didn't want to do it. Obviously I have a kid and I'm doing other things. So I was like, you know what? I really needed to separate a time that I'm going to grade those tests. And I ended up doing it today. And that's what I did. I said, you know what? All right, at this time, I am going to work on math. I don't want to do math, but I'm going to focus on doing the math, the stuff I don't want to do. And I'm just going to get out of the way. And so I think that's something that you guys should all keep in perspective is like, we still got to, when you're dealing with this math burned out, give yourself time, give yourself air to breathe, right? Don't expect you're just going to keep on doing what you've always done, but also realize like, it's very difficult to not do something, not follow through when you kind of like write it down or when you schedule it. You're saying, I am going to be doing my math homework at 1:00 on Sunday or, at 4:00 on Monday. Like that's where I'm going to designate a special time and just do it. You're going to make yourself feel much better. It's not going to be something you're going to be motivated or want to do. But that is, I think when you schedule something and you say like, hey, here's the time I'm going to be doing this, it's going to be much easier for you or much harder for you to break that promise to yourself. Because I think in the beginning of the year, we just have more motivation to get things done, right? And this year, so many things are going on. I think it was a little bit different of a school year. And, I don't know, we had a little bit more maybe energy, enthusiasm, maybe to try to like get things done and like get a best grade. And now it's like we see the end and we're like, I just don't want to finish. So guys, I know we're almost there. I want to encourage you to finish. Even if you do feel like you are completely burned out, you cannot do one more math problem. I have been exactly there. I totally know exactly what you're feeling from a teacher as well as from a student. But you know what? Give yourself some time. Take some breaks. Walk away from doing your work. Walk away from the study times and like take some walks. Do some other activity to break the cycle. But then also schedule the time that you're going to work in math, because you know what, if you do have a school year that you only have a couple more weeks left, just finish strong, right? And just realize that, I always tell my seniors this too, is like, I know that senioritis, like the last thing they want to be doing right now is to be studying or doing anything. They just want to be with their friends. The weather's getting better. And I said, you know what? There's no better feeling of putting in that effort and knowing you're done, but you got to keep on putting in that work until that time comes. So just wanted to encourage you guys that if you guys have any other advice for dealing with math burnout, or if that's something that you definitely feel that you are having some trouble with now, then let me know down in the chat. Before I get started into the math questions, which I do have a couple more math questions that I'll answer for you guys in here. And then also just wanted to do a nice little plug for, again, these questions are all ones that have been submitted to me on my Google Docs or my Google form, which is up in the description. In addition to that, if you want a little bit more help with your math problems, you can definitely go and check out the Discord server that I have. That is a link down from this. So if you have more questions, or if you want to help other people become a tutor, then you can definitely go ahead and join on the Discord server as well. Do you offer any private lessons? Not at the moment, and probably not for a decent amount of time, just because my time is pretty busy at the moment with schooling, and then also with three girls under the age of 4. So I just don't have a lot of extra time at the moment, and some people, were asking like, why do you go live at 9? And why don't you, do other live streams? And like sometimes I will break out other live streams, coming up. But one of the reasons I go live, I've been going live at 9 is for my first daughter, is this was the time like we could get her to like go to bed, so like 9 o'clock was in our old house. I used to go live in our dining room, so I had to be like quiet enough so she could sleep. And so like 9 o'clock was the best time that we could get that going. So yeah, it's, so as of right now, busy time. I'm not sure if I'll be getting through any private lessons, but that is something to at least an element, that I look forward to kind of offering in some capacity or another. So definitely stay tuned on with the channel. Adrian, I'm assuming you're looking for the link. I'm not sure. That is the question I pinned. All right. SAT test. Am I having graphic questions? I am not sure what that means. Would you be able to discuss math anxiety? Well, yes, I think isn't that what I talked about last class period or last week? Math anxiety? That's no way. I think that's what I was talking about, right? Yeah. Dude, go ahead and check out last week's stream. I talked about math anxiety. Like, perfect. Thank you for asking. It's awesome. Good plug for last week's live stream that I did. Are you stressed teaching the pandemic? Yes, I'm much more stressed at the beginning of the year. It was very difficult kind of getting used to everything. I was so used to teaching inside the classroom without masks, teaching, pre-calculus and calculus and all those kind of classes. And then, this year teaching 7 periods a day, because we used to do block scheduling. So teaching 7 periods a day, teaching geometry and algebra 2. It was just a lot. And then also the pandemic, doing the virtual learning wasn't as bad. I mean, I didn't have problems with the technology like other teachers, but I definitely struggled with the kind of getting students engaged online, because that's a lot different, right? For here, I mean, I'm just answering questions. Like, yes, it's helpful to kind of keep you guys engaged and stuff like that, but it's like, you're not earning a grade, right, for being on this live stream. But like when I have my students on there, it's like, you got to keep it, like, you got to make sure like they're going to be tested on the material you're teaching them. Like, you got to keep that engagement going on. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different, a little bit different animal, trying to teach online compared to like these live streams. All right. So what if you language should is your website down? I cannot. Yeah, Audrey, I got to go and get back to my lives. Yeah, I do apologize. My free math videos is, I'm having trouble with my hosting server. They fix it and then it goes down again. So I'm going to have to go and take a look a little bit more into that. I do apologize. That is something I will definitely go into. Definitely need to look into. Oh, well, awesome. Nishan, I'm happy that you could be able to join. Well, thank you, KP1805. Greatly much appreciated. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into some math questions. Just only have a couple more, and then I got to go back to school. And also, it's going to be late night tonight. Like, I'm going to be up changing baby diapers all throughout the night. So, so yeah, I'm currently watching your 2013 video. That's awesome. I don't know why I'm keep on looking at this, but yeah, that's awesome. All right. So let's go and get into some of the questions that were submitted. I only have a couple, so we'll keep this live stream rather short, which is good because I got to attend to our little one, and it's going to make for a busy week. Before I get to that, I see Serene and Sarah asked 2 more questions. Do teachers teach for the standardized test instead of a full comprehensive level? That's a great question. Serene, I like your question so much. I'm going to talk about that next week. That's going to be that's a great question. I love that question. All right. And then, cause I have a lot of thoughts on that too. Then Sarah said, I'm 3 weeks behind in my math lectures. I found 12 lectures due to the end of this coming Friday. I have an essay to do. Yes. That would give me, Sarah, you're just going to have to schedule it. Kind of like I said, schedule some time, do the best you can do. Don't try to do everything. Just do as much as you can. My Discord link isn't working. Say what? What's that? That's not good. Click the Discord link that I hit in my pinned comment. It says it's working. Hopefully it's not. I teach in Jacksonville, Florida, KP at Mandarin High School. I don't know the template for Python. I'm not sure about the coding. All right. Yeah, once you let me know, Addie, about it, I contacted my hosting website, and they let me know about it, and they fixed it for like 3 days, and then it went down again. So I'm just like so frustrated with that. So I got to go back, and then they called them back again. They got something fixed, and it's something with the update on something from there. So I'm not sure what the deal is. But Blurzy, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining in. But yeah, it's something from there. And Jada from Minnesota, awesome. Arbot, help us out. You are very welcome. Arbot. I thought something was wrong with me. I was having panic attacks. I studied 2 weeks straight. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. All right. I've been teaching this is my 14th year teaching high school. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on these questions here. Go for them. Awesome, Sarah. Good for you. So I've been lazy on my math. Yeah, I get it. Good for you though. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so let's go and get into some of these questions here because, like I said, I got a baby that needs some attention. So the first one says, graph the following function: y equals negative tan of 2x minus pi plus 2. So let's write that in like math because the student didn't have a. This is they texted this. Y equals a negative tan. Let's factor out the 2. All right, let's just do 2x minus pi plus 2. I'm having trouble plotting the points. All right, well, plotting points, you're just plugging in values, so I can help you with that. But the main thing you want to do is factor out the 2. Okay, so let's go and talk about, like, if I was going to graph this, what I have my students do is just make sure they know, like, the parent graph. That's tangent of x, okay? And tangent of x has 2 asymptotes, at pi halves and at negative pi halves. Okay, so now I just got to understand, well, what's happening to this graph. So this graph is being reflected about the y-axis. About the x-axis, right? So that's a reflection. It has a vertical stretch of 2, and it's being shifted pi halves to the right and then being shifted up 2. So this graph is going to look something like this. So now it's being shifted up to the right. Okay, so it's going to be at pi halves. We have an asymptote here, right? Because the graph, the period is not changing. No, the period is changing, actually. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's go and see. Let's actually write everything down. So we have a reflect x-axis here. So our period, if you remember the period for tangent, that's going to be pi divided by b. So that's going to be pi halves. So instead of my period going from negative pi to pi halves, which would be pi, now it's going down to pi halves. That's interesting here. Because so what that means is, if my period's only pi halves, then actually I don't have an asymptotes there. now I'm going to have asymptotes at negative pi over 4. I'm sorry, pi over 4. This would be at 2 pi over 4, and this would be at 3 pi over 4. Okay, and you can check your work here as well to be able to get to those values, and you'll see that these values would be undefined if you were to plug them in. Yeah, pi over 4 minus pi half, because that would be a negative. Actually, I'd have to go and see what that would be from on there. But anyways, it would be undefined. And then the graph is being shifted up to and then vertically stretched. Voila. And there you go. So the student might be saying like, well, how are you getting these values? Like, how are you getting these points, right? And again, like just plug them in. I'm not sure like how you try plotting points. Like I think the main thing is you should know the parent graph and then you should understand the transformations. But as far as like plotting points, just plug in whatever values you want in for X, right? You know, you can plug in Y sub pi over 4. Plug in Y sub 3 pi over 4. Plug in Y sub pi. Like plug in whatever values you want to. But I think plotting in random points is not going to help you unless you know the general idea of what the shape of the graph is going to look like, which is going to be something from our parent graph. All right, so the next one is write down the column vector. So first one is just going to be adding the vectors. So when you're adding the vectors, you're just going to add the first two components and the second two components. So this one is literally as simple as A plus B is just going to be 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay, so just add the first two components and then the second two components. Now the next one is you say 2A plus 3B. So now we have a scalar. So when we have a scalar, what you're going to do is you need to distribute that. No, don't put a 3 there. You need to distribute that 2 to the first as well as to the second component. So that's going to be plus a 3. I keep on 1, 2, 5. 1, 5. Okay, so really what this looks like is 4 over, I keep on using the parentheses. So I don't really use this vertical vertical for vectors very much. So that's going to be 4 over 6 plus a 3, 15. I'm like just so used to doing that way. Okay, now again, we just do the same thing. Add the first component, add the second component. So 4 plus 3 is 7. Over 6 plus 15 is 21. Voila. All right, question number 3 said calculate the sine of A, the sine of B, and the triangle. So remember when you're dealing with right triangle trigonometry, you are sine, cosine, tangent. You got to make sure you have a right triangle, right? That means you're going to have a right angle. Now, when we're talking about the sine of A, sine of any angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse, okay? So the hypotenuse is always directly across from my right angle, right? You can see how it like always points here. And then the opposite side is going to be on the opposite side of the triangle from your angle. Like, so you can see here is going to be my opposite side, right? So A, opposite side. So then all I'm going to do is say the sine of A is equal to opposite 3.7 over 4. And voila. Then it did say to do B, but again, B is a different angle, right? So here's angle B. Now notice the hypotenuse didn't change, right? But now my opposite side did, right? So with respect to this angle, 1.5 is now my opposite. So I can say the sine of B is equal to 1.5 divided by 4. There you go. All right. And then last but not least is a question on systems. The student asked, you know what I'm going to do? The student asked me to go through all this. And I'm going to do this one 2 different ways. I'm going to do this elimination and substitution. I don't think the student was asking me either way, so I'm going to show you 2 different methods. So we'll do this both ways. Okay, now I'm going to do substitution first. The reason why I'm going to do substitution first is if I had this problem like on exam, I would probably do substitution for this problem. And the reason why I would do substitution for this problem is because whenever I have a variable that has a 1 or a negative 1 as its coefficient, I think substitution is typically going to be usually the easier problems. Now, that's up for debate in this problem. You could also make the argument for elimination be easier in this problem, and that's just kind of the uniqueness of the problem. But a lot of students always want those. I'm keep on looking up here because that's where I'm used to my camera, but my camera's not working, so I apologize for that. And it's still not being second. So anyways, but the reason for that is because I like to kind of give students an idea of when they're solving a problem and they want to determine, should I use substitution or should I use elimination? I like to kind of use idea. Whenever you have a 1 as a coefficient for one of your variables, you use substitution. Now in this case, we have two variables have a coefficient of 1. So I would say using 1. Oh, thank you, Ethan. Thank you so much. Finished pre-cooked next week with an awesome grade. Thanks to you. How's Florida life? Cold appearing candle. Still, your face is on the wall. Thank you so much. That is awesome. Congratulations. I'm feeling pre-calculus and I'm very happy to be able to help you out and greatly appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. So the thing in this one for the substitution is, we can just pick one. Do you want to substitute for X or do you want to substitute for Y? And I don't really think there's an easier answer for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'll solve for X here. So in this top equation or bottom equation, you could just add a 2Y, right? So you can say X equals a 2Y minus 5. Okay, so now we know X is equivalent to 2Y minus 5. The reason why that's important is I can plug this expression, right, in for X in my other equation. So I can say 2 times, instead of X, right, the top equation is 2X plus Y equals 5. Well, we can replace X with a 2Y minus 5, right? Nothing wrong with that. Now, just do a little distributive property. 4Y minus 10 plus Y equals 5. Combine like my terms. 4Y plus Y is going to be a 5Y. And then, let's add the 10 to the other side. 5Y equals 15, divide by 5, and Y equals 3. Now again, that was Y equals 3. So if we know Y is equal to 3, now we can plug 3 into my X equation to solve for X. So X equals 2 times Y minus 5. Well, now we know Y is equal to 3. So 2 times 3 minus 5. So X equals 1, right? So therefore we have a solution point of 1 and 3, okay? Now, that wasn't too bad for substitution. But in this case, actually elimination is not a bad idea either. And the reason why elimination is not a bad idea in this case is because whenever you see you have a variable which one is positive, one is negative, like we have here, and all you need to do is multiply by one number to get the same coefficient, elimination is not a bad idea. So in this equation, what you recognize is if I multiply the top equation, everything by 2, I'll get a positive 2y, which is the opposite of negative 2y. And that's important because if I add these two equations up, that'd give me a 0y. So what happens is I multiply by a scalar, I get a 4x plus 2y equals 10. Notice I multiply the 2 times everything, right? So there goes me an x minus 2y equals negative 5. Now I'm going to add these two equations up, and what that's going to do is that's going to give me a 5x plus 0y, which is just 0, equals 5. 5x equals 5, divide by 5, x equals 1, which we already knew, right? Now the tough thing kind of sometimes with the substitution is once we get this, or elimination, once we have this 1, we got to go back and plug it into one of our two equations. Now it doesn't really matter which equation you want to plug it into. You just need to pick one. I'll pick the top equation just because y is isolated, so it makes it a little bit easier. But again, just pick an equation and then plug it in. Okay, so then we'll subtract a 2, and y is equal to 3. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. Yeah, I'll take maybe a couple more questions. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do any more additional math questions, but I'll hang on to Cupcase. Same things. And tonight is math really easy like how you teach it? No, it is not. Math is difficult. A lot of the math that I do on my channel is like scratching the surface of the math that you can get to. So it might seem easy sometimes when I do a math problem or explain it, but that's probably because I've done that problem or something similar to it like very often or very, very many times, right? It's kind of like walking, right? You might see somebody you walking like, wow, you're really good at walking. Like, you're like, yeah, that's because that's what I do, right? And I'm like, think about it. Like, I'm a math teacher. I do math problems each and every day. Now, one of the things that a lot of students will get upset, they're like, why aren't you doing harder problems and stuff like that? I'm like, because when you're doing hard problems, you got to train for like harder problems. Like I'm kind of stuck a little bit in the bubble in my teaching because I've been teaching the same type of math. Like, there's not a lot of opportunities for me branching out. And that's something I do want to get back into as far as doing some different types of math, going back into calculus, doing some more probability and stat, and doing some things that not typically that I always see in my classroom, just to kind of help me understand and explain better. But as of right now, I gotta meet the needs of my students, and so that's where I'm kind of a little bit limited, right now for my live stream. But that's something I'm looking to expand as well. I fell off of my bicycle and hit my head. So that's what happened. Well, thank you so much, Nishat. I'm very happy my videos have been able to help you out. All right. Have you taught Algebra 1? Cora, yes, I have taught Algebra 1. If you go to my playlist page, I have a ton of Algebra 1 videos, but they are definitely the older ones. I haven't taught Algebra 1 in maybe like 5 years. No, it's been longer than that, maybe 6, 8 years. So it's been a while, but I definitely have some older videos that hopefully will be helpful for you. How do you know if your class or speaker understands the math concept? Well, you ask, and then also you have them perform different math. I think, and then also not just having people regurgitate stuff, but having them being able to apply what you've taught. I think is a really great way to be able to see how people understand, what they've been taught. I'm doing all right, Shaggy. Thank you so much. Well, awesome, Dorian. I'm happy to be able to help you out. And somebody asked, yeah, Webb, I talked about burnouts at the beginning. So if you go back to this live stream and go to the beginning, you'll see I talked a little bit about the burnouts and some things that hopefully you can do to help you out. Have you ever been offered teaching jobs anywhere else in America? I don't think so. I mean, I guess maybe informal jobs, but not nobody's been trying to get me to teach at a different school or something like that. So no, that's never happened. Partial functions. That's the thing. I've never taught partial functions or partial fractions. And so that's one thing that I've wanted to do. So definitely, unfortunately, I don't have the experience really with a good explanation of that. So I can do them and work through them, but it takes me a little while and it's not something great from that I want to cover on the live stream, but definitely something that I want to expand on. I know that doesn't really help you out, but that's one thing I want to do. Hayden, any advice on trig identities? I'm doing them pre-calc, it's killing me. Yeah, I get it, man. Trig identities are tough. They take a while. You just got to practice. You really do. To keep on doing the easier ones, try to get harder ones. The best way to practice with trig identities is ones that you have the right answer on, right? So, because otherwise it'll take you 30 minutes sometimes to figure out a problem. I remember trying to figure out trig identities. And if you're not used to using different techniques and methods, they'll take forever. So I would really make sure that you only are going to invest the time into a trig identity that you can check the answer on, because otherwise it will, some of those will, until you have a solid, good foundation of what you're doing and how to do them, they can suck up a lot of time. So yeah, you got to be careful with that for sure. I've never taught matrices, at least I took matrices when I was in high school, when I was in college, and then I became a teacher and never had to teach matrices. Never. Out of my 14 years of being a teacher, any of my curriculum that I've had to teach has never included matrices. And actually none of the current curriculum that I do teach, even if I wanted to teach matrices inside my classroom, none of the curriculum has it. So yeah, it's kind of weird. And definitely something I'd like to, kind of go over as well. Rational root theorems. Yep. I have a ton of videos on that. You can definitely go and check that out. Do you have to be good at math to become a math teacher? I would guess in some respect, you'd have to be good at math. I'm sure there's some people that have slipped through the cracks, but to at least become a math teacher, you do have to pass a general math knowledge test. And so you have to somewhat know what you're doing, but, you don't have to have a math degree. I think in many states, they've kind of had to, ease the limits to get people into the classroom. So So yeah, I don't think you have to be a math genius to become a math teacher, but you definitely have to have a little bit of baseline and knowing somewhat what you're doing. All right, is statistics hard? I guess I wouldn't say it's hard. I didn't really enjoy statistics, so that's kind of my difference, or different for me. It wasn't anything I really too much enjoyed on that. But I think many students, if maybe they struggled in like a general math and then they get to statistics, a lot of times they see statistics is a little bit easier. It's a little bit more applicable, real life kind of stuff. But it is a lot more words a lot of times. You're dealing with a lot more word problems and everything like that. All right. And my pre-calc has matrices and statistics, which is weird. Yeah. I mean, that's what mine did. When I took pre-calculus and we taught matrices and statistics. It's just not, I don't know. Pre-calculus is not as standardized, like maybe some of the other classes. So a lot of, courses or a lot of textbooks and, colleges and universities and high schools will take a different approach to what they want students to learn in pre-calculus. So, but yeah, nothing wrong. I mean, that's, like I said, I learned a lot of my matrices I got first introduced to them in pre-calculus. All right. Is the foundation of most topics in math? I would say Algebra 1 covers a lot of what you would need to know as you begin to branch out into different topics of math. So yes, I'd probably say that's a good, I'm not saying it's the most foundation, but I think using the variable expressions, the algebra approach is something that is very beneficial for a lot of different math. So yeah, I would definitely say. Was Algebra 2 hard for you? I didn't actually never took a formal Algebra 2 or Algebra 1. I took a, my math classes were they're like blended. I can't remember what they call them. There's an easy name. Somebody probably is doing them right now, but yeah, I took, they like combined them together. So I took an integrated math. That's it. So I took an integrated math curriculum. So I never took like a formal Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. So I don't really have a great way to explain to that for you. And yes, the Discord tutoring is completely free. So people are doing this out of their own time and own benefit. You can definitely tip them. That is something that is encouraged, for them helping you out for free. Obviously for free, you're going to be limited. People aren't going to be spending, 4 hours helping you with your individual math. But kind of like what I do online, like I'll try to answer your guys' questions, try to help you out. And that's what a lot of those tutors are there for. They like to answer questions, help you guys with everything. So, I always say the ask a question, answer a question. If you're posting questions, try to find a question that you can answer for somebody else to keep the community kind of growing and beneficial for everybody to be in there. But if you're just always going in there asking questions, well, then you're not really contributing as much to the community. And, people, might not be able to get to as many of your questions, as your questions as you're putting out there. So I always think it's a good idea to ask a question and give a question is the best. All right. This guy. A squared, B squared, C. Yes, that one's good for me, Car. I got that one. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Well, I am kind of sick of talking to my computer screen like this. I'd much rather be talking to you over here on my camera, but that is the way it is. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I have to go and visit my newborn because she's been away from her daddy for almost 45 minutes now. So it's time for me to get back, but I will get back to you guys on next week, and hopefully with my camera in a better shape by then, and also with me a little bit more sleep because I have not been getting a lot of sleep these last couple nights. But school is tomorrow and testing season is now upon us. So I wish you guys all the best for this week, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. All right, cheers. Have a good one.